According to Spirit, our spiritual nature is really just 2 pointers. 1, we are energy frequencies. 2, we are interconnected energy frequencies, full stop. So nothing too complicated and sophisticated. Our spiritual nature is defined and understood as us comprising of energy frequencies or vibrations in a interconnected manner. All right? So far, can you accept this explanation? Okay. So, is it energy versus matter? Or is it matter inclusive of energy? I'll let you have your own conclusion. All right? But if we are only matter, maybe you want to ask yourself, how are these possible? Maybe you have not had experiences of all these occurrences or phenomena, but I'm sure you have memories. Am I right? So if you are just matter, like ice, ice has got 3 states. If you are just gas or water or matter itself, solid, why is it that we have memories? How do memories come about? Or thoughts? I'm sure you're now processing what I say with your own thoughts. How about out-of-body experiences reported by some ascended masters, some masters of light? Intuition. How do you define, how do you explain gut feel? That this is a meeting, this is a flight that I don't think I should catch. Deja vu. And finally, love at first sight. If you're just a solid, how do you explain that you just fall in love with your husband at the very first moment? So questions. What seems to be ordinary experiences up to this point in your life? And the second point about us as spiritual nature is interconnected as a whole. So I'm sure, seated among us, all of us here, if not all, would be most of you, we heard of oneness. We heard of united or unification matrix. So what exactly is oneness? Right? So what do you mean by hologram, a holographic nature, or a holographic universe that we live in? I particularly like this definition taken from a book written by Great Britain. I think the book is Time Fractal. All right, he wrote this book just before 2012. He says that the hologram is a vibrational pattern that is whole and complete unto itself, and at the same time, it is a part of a larger pattern. All right? So it's wholeness there, and yes, it's part. So what it connotes here is, hey, there are actually 2 basic principles in creation. One is unity, oneness, which you heard a lot through different teachings. Secondly is free will to create. And how does this free will come about? It's because we individually is unique and self-contained. So we are actually very interesting creations. We are part of a larger family, and yet we have free will to be who we are, depending on the soul contract that you came with in every incarnation. So whether it's existence on earth or in other realms, it's really a balance of these 2. How do you evolve, and how do you live your world and create your reality using both oneness as a consciousness and yet retaining free will? So this is a festival of spiritual sciences. So I'd like to just bring our focus back to something a little more scientific. Have you heard of the Mandelbrot set? Maybe not, yeah. I came across this concept years ago when I was exploring what is oneness. If there is a diagram that we can use to remind ourselves, and even better, proven scientifically that we are made of oneness, that would be great. And I stumbled upon Mandelbrot set. Mandelbrot set was mentioned by Great Britain in one of his workshops, and this workshop was shown and aired and shared on YouTube. So will it be all right if I spend about 6 minutes of this presentation time to share with you in greater depth what is a Mandelbrot set? Why is it that through a pattern you could appreciate better the concept of oneness? Are we all right to proceed? Good.
If I change and no one else around me changes, what good does it do if I remember compassion in my life, if I become compassion, if I remember no hate in a world that has learned to hate in the past, or if I remember no fear in a world that has learned to fear in the past? Well, to help understand what good that does, I have a short video clip that I'd like to show you. In the science of chaos theory, there is a mathematical equation that defines the point where order and chaos merge. It's a membrane where order and chaos come together. And until recently, it was a nebulous theoretical point. And with the advent of high-speed computers, now we're able to plug the mathematical formula into these computers and create an image, a picture of what this image actually looks like. We call the resulting image the Mandelbrot set. Your life is holographic in nature. I know that you know that, and I know you've heard that many times. I'd like to take a few moments and pausing in this video to explore precisely what that means to you, your life, and your relationships, your emotions, and your feelings. Every emotion, each feeling, each response that you choose to any given situation affects every other person on this earth to some degree. That's the beauty of the holographic model. That's the power in compassion. Together, let's explore the nature of this relationship through an image that researchers are calling the Mandelbrot set. What you're seeing on your screen right here, this is an image of a mathematical point that is called the Mandelbrot set. It is a point in chaos theory where order and chaos merge. And where they come together, that point may be defined mathematically. As we feed the mathematics into computers, this is the graphic equivalent of that boundary between order and chaos, the Mandelbrot set. Now, the reason I use this image to describe this concept is because this is a very good example of a hologram. One definition of a hologram may go something like this. In a hologram, the whole pattern is whole and complete unto itself, and if you were to take any little portion of this whole out and examine it closely, you will see the entire pattern repeating itself again and again and again. This is the way the Mandelbrot set works. This entire image is called the Mandelbrot set. And as you'll see around the periphery of the Mandelbrot set, you'll see many, many other little patterns. These are all little Mandelbrots. Now, we're going to use the power of our computer to take us into this image. We will zoom into the image, and you'll see that as we zoom into this image, the pattern repeats itself again and again and again. And this is where the beauty of the holographic model becomes apparent. As it goes like this. Anywhere in this pattern, if we were to change one little aspect on any one of these little holograms, on any one of these little Mandelbrots, that change would be reflected throughout the entire system. Every place where you saw this pattern would reflect that change, no matter where in the system we place the change. Our consciousness works that way. To the degree that you allow yourself to remember the gift of compassion, to remember the option of no hate and no fear in a world that has learned to hate and fear, to the degree that you allow that in your little piece of our universe, to some degree that change is reflected throughout the entire pattern of our universe because we are holographic in nature. Well, let's explore this relationship together as through our computer, we allow the computer to take us deeply into this model. There's our Mandelbrot set, and you can see that we are zooming into a complete portion, very specific portion of this set, and notice all along the periphery, all along the edges of the pattern, you see many, many, many Mandelbrot sets. As you listen to the music from this, it's almost a meditation as we move into this powerful pattern, the model that represents our consciousness. You see all the little Mandelbrot sets lining up side by side. Any change in any one of those sets would be reflected throughout the entire pattern, throughout the whole. There's something very interesting that will happen as we move farther and farther, deeper and deeper into the innermost regions of this pattern. And we see the pattern repeat itself over and over again. We're moving to an end point. As we reach this end point, what you will see is that we end up with precisely the same pattern that we began with. Your relationships work in this manner. Your life works in this manner. The patterns are with you no matter where you go, no matter how far deeply into your life you move, or how far you attempt to remove yourself from the patterns of life. You are holographic in nature. No matter where you move to, what part of the world, what part of the country, no matter how many relationships you move into or out of, how many friendships you choose to initiate or complete, the patterns of your life remain the same because they are holographic in nature. And now you see, as we approach the end of the lifetime of this mathematical equation, this mathematical model, what we are completing with is precisely the same thing that we began with, the Mandelbrot set. No matter how deeply into this pattern we would move, if we were to begin once again now to look deeply into this pattern, we would see precisely the same thing happening again. We would see precisely these little Mandelbrot sets, one after another, again and again, reflecting in each of them, respectively, the pattern of the whole.